Yes, so let's start.
We can start, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this Cup of Tech session on Introduction to Android Application. And in this Cup of Tech, we're going to discuss the techniques on how to build Android applications. It's all about Introduction to Android development. And we do these series after every 2 weeks. So we hope to welcoming you in future Cup of Techs as well. We have a lot of people joining us from different parts of the world, and we welcome them. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone. Just This session will be run by Ahmed Yusuf, but before I request Ahmed to formally introduce himself and take this session forward, I would like to discuss the logistics of this program. This webinar. So the first one is that this webinar is going to be recorded and it will be used online for our marketing purposes. So I'm sure we have your consent and you are okay with that. The second thing is that we have muted everyone and we are going to open the floor for questions at the end of the seminar. And the third one is that there's a Q&A option. So if you want to if you want to ask any live question, you can raise your hands. If not, then you can use the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. So Ahmed will be answering live questions, or if not, then he's going to address all the questions at the end of the seminar. So thank you so much again. Welcome to this webinar. And without taking more time, I would like to request Ahmed to take this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayman. Thank you for this introduction. So welcome everyone to this Cup of Tech session about building Android applications. We appreciate your about learning new things. Actually, it's a very nice thing to have during these days, learning new things. We say that in the current era, actually, it's the time of learning, because actually world is changing too fast. So actually, if learning, it's not a luxury anymore, it's a mandatory to keep on moving. So today we'll be exploring various options of building Android applications. We'll be focusing on the native one. However, we will be comparing between the different options for building Android mobile applications. So let's quickly get started. What is the roadmap objective of this very short session? The scope is to start talking about the development tools, what the environment you need in order to develop an Android application, and how can differentiate between the different options of development tools. We'll have something called native development, cross development, and hybrid development. We'll be exploring the differences between each one of these. And finally, we will go through a very simple demo on building native Android application. And it based on time. I'm not sure if we will have time to do this or not, but if we had time, we'll go for exploring cross-platform demo application on Android using React Native. So let's quickly get started, and just short introduction about me. As Ayman has just told you, my name is Ahmed Yusuf. I am software security consultant, and I'm combining between the software development and securing these applications. I started my career like 12 years or more ago, since even while I was in college. I use programming language such as Java, Kotlin, Swift, Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, Perl, PHP, C#, and other programming languages. I build actually apps for various platforms, desktop, web, Android, iOS applications. I also build for serverless, for cloud computing, IoT, and also blockchain. Recently, I have moved from building systems into focusing how to secure these systems, because after a while you are going through building the systems and architecting how things should be built, you will have good knowledge about the weakness points inside these systems, so you can give your advice about how to secure those systems, how to make some penetration testing while you are simulating the attacker action. So actually, this is what I'm doing currently, comparing or balancing between building systems and trying to hack those systems. So what about mobile application development techniques? And before we go to this, let me just in a very short note answer the question, why should we care about Android mobile application development? When we ask this question, you think of it like Android is a large operating system. It has huge market share. It's supported by Google, which is a large company which has lots of investments in that platform or in that operating system. And this actually very important when we choose what to learn. For instance, if I'm going to learn a specific technology or a specific development tool, I should ask myself, would this tool or this technology be in the market in the upcoming couple of years or not? Why we are asking or answering this question, or we are discussing this thought? Because actually it happens a lot of time, especially today, when you have in the market some new framework, new development platform, new programming language that actually shows up and it seems to be very promising, and there is a huge hype around that technology, and in 6 months you find it's gone. So if I'm going to learn, learning is an investment, but I'm investing in myself. So if I'm going to learn something, I should think twice, is that thing will be in the market in the upcoming years, so I will have some return on my investment or not. So if we are talking about, or we are considering Android seems to be out there for more couple of years. I'm not saying forever, because actually nothing will stand forever, but for couple of upcoming years, and this is good, and this is a good point or a good topic to consider for learning if we are trying to build our applications. So there is other question that actually asked question that we come across while we are talking about the Android mobile application development. People say, should I learn Android or should I learn iOS development? And the answer for this question is very simple. If you are trying to build your application targeting everyone, so the answer is both. You should learn both. But on the other hand, if you are trying to create some application or to learn some application that will be used by some category or niche or level of the customers, and you are trying to target the most common operating system, so in that case it will be Android. And even if you are trying to approach everyone and you are going to learn both platforms, I usually recommend to start with Android. Why is that? Because starting with Android development is easier than starting with iOS. Actually, I am not in the side of Android application development. Actually, I develop both. So, but I'm giving you how actually it works. Some people say on the long run, iOS application is easier to develop. I agree with that. But on the other hand, the starting bargain for Android is easier than the iOS. For iOS, you require, the Apple actually has a lot of requirements. It's much easier to start with Android. So starting with Android is always a good point. It's hard or difficult to learn mobile application development using Android. Actually, it's not. You will find that for the beginning or for the first period, like 1 or 2 weeks, you are struggling to get the very basic things up and running. But once you are over this stage, you will find that everything actually makes sense, and actually everything is logic and things are going in a very smooth way. So let's get started about the development techniques for the mobile application development. And actually this is valid for all the mobile application platforms. So what we are trying to explore here is valid for Android, valid for iOS, and was valid as well for Windows Phone when we had that operating system. So what are the available techniques? We usually compare between 3 different development techniques that we should spot, or we should select one of them for our project. The first one, which is called native. The second one is called cross-platform, and the third one is hybrid application. Let's think about and see how each and every one of these actually are working, what are the technologies in order to be able to select what actually suits our project. And let me make this clear before going further with this title. No one of these is the best solution all the time, because if one of these techniques is the best in all cases, if this is the case or this is happening, it doesn't make sense that we have the other two options. If one option is valid all the time and it's the best all the time, so people will ignore the other options and they will not be used. So once we are saying that we have different three options, so each one of these has cons and pros, so don't believe someone he's telling you that cross-platform is the best, native development is the best. Best in terms of what? It might be best in some cases, and other cases it might not be that much. So for native development, we are saying that we will be using the native or the official technology that is provided by the creator of that operating system in order to build the application. So in the case of building Android applications, we'll be using Java or Kotlin on Android Studio, which is the tool that we use to develop. So we develop our application using programming language such as Java and Kotlin, and using the standard and the official library provided by Google. This is what we call native. In that case, our output, the app that we are developing, actually will be native Android application that will be executable on Android devices only. So if I need to make my application available in two platforms, I should have that application developed for Android, and I will go to develop another completely different version using the other native tools that's provided by Apple, which is using Swift or Objective-C on another tool called Xcode. So in that case, I will be targeting iOS. So if I want to build an application that supports or downloadable or executable on both platforms, actually I have two different projects, two different applications, and in most of cases, two development teams, because in most of cases you will find one developer actually is developing iOS or Android. So in that case, if you are developing yourself, you need to learn two different platforms. If you are hiring developers, you need to hire two developers in order to get the native application. That is not the case for the cross-platform and hybrid. The cross-platform and hybrid actually are alternative solutions to the native development platform, and they actually are tackling this problem, which is the need to have two different code bases, two different projects. Cross-platform and hybrid are tending to give you a solution where you develop your application once, and this application should be executable on both iOS and Android. Let's see how can we obtain this. So for the cross-platform, we have actually one option, which is Flutter. And Flutter, by the way, actually is provided and developed by Google. So actually, that's why Flutter is very interesting out there. A lot of resources and a lot of communities actually are supporting Flutter out there, because actually it's provided by Google. It gives very good performance, and actually it's very nice thing to start with. And when you build your application using Flutter, actually it will be downloadable or executable on both Android and iOS. You have another option, which is React Native, and React Native is developed by Facebook. So you can, and actually it's open source, so you can go and download React Native and start developing single application that will be executed on iOS and Android. And we have the third option, which is Xamarin, and Xamarin actually is developed and maintained by Microsoft, and actually it's also cross-platform where you can build your application for iOS and Android. Another note for the cross-platform, it's say that these platforms actually helps you to have your application not only on iOS and Android, but also as web application. So for instance, if I build an application which has login form and the registration form and some images, sliders, inbox, and this kind of features or functions, and I deployed it or build it using Flutter or React Native or Xamarin, they give you the ability to have Android application as output or iOS application or even web application. So they extract or build your application as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so you can deploy it on your web server and you have it as a website. So this is the beauty about the cross-platform. The hybrid, actually, it's similar to the cross-platform from the perspective that this is developed once and it will be available on multiple platforms, but there is a slight difference that actually we'll be exploring in the upcoming slide. Let's see what are the technologies that actually are categorized as hybrid application development. We have something called Ionic, and actually you can build for iOS, Android, and web as well. And we have another thing called Cordova, and we have something else that's called PhoneGap. So these are the main things that actually we can do. So now we are exploring three different options. Either we develop our application multiple times using native technologies, or we go for one of the other two options, cross-platform or hybrid, where we build our application only once and it will be executable on multiple devices or multiple platforms. So the question is, how should I select? How should I select either to go for native, cross-platform, or hybrid? Let's compare these different options against different aspects. So the first one, okay, before we compare, let's see actually, as I told you, the difference between the cross-platform and hybrid. Let's go for the native. What happened when I develop a native application? For native application, you will build the application in Kotlin, for instance, and this application will be compiled and give you an app that will run directly on the operating system, which is Android. And you will be building another application using Swift that will be executed and given an output, which is an app that will be developed and built on iOS. In the cross-platform, it's slightly different, because in the cross-platform, you will be developing your application not in Kotlin nor Swift. You will be building your application in a third technology, which is, for example, JavaScript when you are using React Native, for instance, or another programming language called Dart when you are using Flutter. So you are developing your application in a programming language that's not one of the native programming languages, and this application will be translated into the native versions. And then the Kotlin and Swift will be developed and finally executing or giving you the application as the same application that you got from the native. And here comes a very important question, the difference between native and cross-platform. And that's why a lot of people say that cross-platform is a way of obtaining native app. And let me ask you this question. Do you think that according to the operating system, is there any difference between the output that's coming from native or the output that's coming from cross-platform? According to the platform or according to the operating system, the mobile operating system itself, both apps are native apps. Why is that? Because in the native, I wrote my code in Kotlin and Swift and compiled that, so we obtained the application. In the cross-platform, I developed my code in different technology, but before my code landed to the device, it was converted by the tool, by React Native or by Flutter, to the native code, and that native code went to the same process of the native execution, which is compiling and then obtaining the application. That's why the cross-platform actually, it has two good aspects, because it provides me by the end of day a native application, but I started with a single code base. I didn't have to develop the application twice. Let's go for the hybrid model and see how it works. In the hybrid model, as we said, we will not be developing the application twice. We develop the application only once using some tool like JavaScript. So after developing that tool, what should happen? This tool, in that case, our code will not be compiled and packaged as native code to the mobile. No, in that case, the code that we wrote, which is non-native code, will be deployed as is inside a larger native application to the operating system itself directly. So when we are developing hybrid application, by the end of the day, we will be deploying an application that contain our JavaScript code, which is not native. What do we mean by it's not native? It's not understandable on the platform. So what happened in that case? This application, which has our JavaScript code, will be translating this code while on the device. And if you got this idea, this is very correct. Translating our code in the runtime while the app is running on the device will make things go slower. And this is the main drawback of the hybrid, because you are building or you are downloading on your mobile phone or your customer mobile phone some code which is not understandable by the machine directly. So you have to execute or to install a translator between them, and that translator should be running all the time. Even you want to display a very simple screen with a single button or a single text view, you should have this translator running in order to maintain this connection. And this is not the case for the cross-platform or the native. So let's put this into a comparison in order to identify how can we make our solution. Let's compare between native, cross-platform, hybrid in terms of performance. What should give us the best performance? No doubts, it should be the native. And then cross-platform is giving us comparable performance to the native, and the hybrid actually it's a less performance than the other both, because we are building our application in a larger scale and we have this translator that actually running all the time, so it decreases the performance while. The smallest app size actually comes also from the native. After that, the cross-platform, and the hybrid actually it's slightly large application. What about the look and feel? How can the application look good to the user and look native to the user? What we mean by native, it happens to you sometime when you are using an application, especially if you are iPhone user, you will find that there is some theme, some look and feel, a way of the border of the button, how the slider is working. All this look and feel, at some points when you are using your application, you might notice that you feel that you are browsing a website, not using an app. This is what we call look and feel. So what gives the best look and feel? Definitely it's the native, then cross-platform, then hybrid. So far it seems that native is the best at everything. So why should we care about the two other options? The final one, which is very important, quick development. What we call time to market. How much time and effort and money should I invest from having an idea until I get an up and running application? This is actually what makes the other two options, which are cross-platform and hybrid, comparable to native application. When we see it like this, we will find that native application is the most expensive. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort in order to get the application. You have to hire double the team if you need 2 developers. In the case of cross-platform or hybrid, if you are developing native, you will require 4, 2 for Android and 2 for iOS. So based on that, how do you think we should be selecting which, if you have some idea, when should you select hybrid, when you should select cross-platform, and when you should select native? If you have some idea, please share it with us now. I'll have a look on chat.
Ahmed, we have 2 questions here. Would you like to answer now, or would you like to do it afterwards?
Yes.
No, okay.
Yes,
so
we can answer it now before getting started with the development tools.
Yeah, Habib is asking, which is the better, React Native or Flutter, and why?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Okay, thanks for this question. If we are comparing between React Native and Flutter, we can say that React Native is quicker to start. So if I have small application, simple app, I can go with React Native. Flutter actually is larger in the development platform. The app size that's resulting from Flutter is slightly larger than React Native, but on the other hand, Flutter actually supports different libraries. So I have a lot of built-in capabilities. I can download other applications for Flutter. This is one thing. The other thing, if we are comparing Flutter to React Native, we'll find that React Native has a very nice advantage, which is built on JavaScript. So if I'm trying to build an application using React Native, and I know JavaScript, and JavaScript is actually a very common language, I have a lot of resources in the market that they know JavaScript. It's very easy to learn JavaScript. And actually, this is an advantage for the React Native. On the other hand, for Flutter, we use another language. It's called Dart. So in that case, starting with Flutter will require me to learn Dart first. I'm not saying that Dart is hard to learn language. It's a very easy, very simple, but it's something new that you need to learn. So this is other aspect. The third one, and actually this goes to the advantage of Flutter, which is Flutter is actually and officially supported by Google. So Google is supporting Flutter, and continuously they are releasing updates, they are releasing new components. So Google actually is promoting Flutter. On the other hand, React Native was developed by Facebook, but we can say that React Native is community empowered more than corporate empowered. So that makes Flutter, now React Native has larger market share, but it's expected that in very short period, Flutter will obtain the same market share or it may be exceeding that. So my short answer, if you are just building a simple application for a specific purpose and you have some experience with JavaScript, you can go with Flutter, you can go with React Native. But on the other hand, if you need, or if you are targeting to have some proficient and long-term development using cross-platform, in that case, I might recommend to you Flutter.
Okay. Thank you, Ahmed. One more question is that please. What are the trends in mobile application development right now?
Okay, this is good. Actually, one of the trends is the cross-platform. Cross-platform is one of the trends because actually, as if you can look at what we have just displayed, you will think of it, or we can see that native and hybrid are two extremes. Native, you are building a small application, high performance, but it's extremely costly and time consuming. On the other hand, hybrid is very easy to build. It's small, it's quick, it's cheap, but on the other hand, you have some not good performance, not that good look and feel. So cross-platform actually is combining both of them. And there is a very interesting thing to think about, which is in like 3 or 4 years ago, we have been very concerned about the performance on the mobile app. Why is that? Because mobile devices had very limited storage, very limited processing power, very limited memory. But actually, this is not the case right now. And that's why the cross-platform actually is going for some market share from the native itself. Because now when you see a mobile phone, in most of cases, you will find that mobile phone, it has the same power and the same hardware resources that you have on your working laptop. And in some cases, actually, it might exceed. You will find like 8 GB memory on your mobile phone, then actually your laptop might be 4 GB only. So we are not that much concerned about performance. If I'm telling you that the native application will actually save you or will cost you 2 more months in development time than the cross-platform, but the application resulting from the native is faster by 0.0001 in terms of performance than the cross-platform. This is not a thing that actually is the user can even sense or can. One of the trends is the cross-platform. In terms of kind of application or business, man in the middle actually is very trending. And What we mean by man in the middle, someone is producing something, a product or offering a service, and someone needs that product or that service, and you build an application that actually link both together. This is the same idea of Talabat, Uber, all this kind of application that actually replace the physical intermediator. All people actually were requesting to have a mediator on their mobile phone so they can compare offers from different locations. This application or this idea, it's not, it seems to some people that it's overkilled a lot of apps doing this in the market. But from my point of view, it's not covering everything. When it comes to education or training, you don't have that. So think about your daily, what are the problems that you face on daily basis, and think of that. Does anyone at that specific point have a solution to my problem? You will find that it's true. You have something you need to learn. You have a car you need to park at somewhere and you can't find parking. So at least someone will be happy to come and take your car and park it somewhere. So a lot of options, a lot of ideas are out there in order to maintain this kind of relationship.
Yeah. Thank you, Ahmed.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so my question to you was, when should we consider native and when should we consider cross-platform and when should we consider hybrid? What do you think about that? Any ideas, any thoughts?
Well, there are a few people saying that we would like to hear from you. Like, what is your expert opinion about different sectors, different apps for different sectors?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so in most of cases, what we consider doing is, we usually consider native application in the very fine application that actually is targeting specific niche of users. And in most of cases, as we said, it's time consuming and it's costly. So in most of cases, we consider native application for the apps that actually will give us some return on investment. So for instance, if I am building an application and it's a very sophisticated application, it requires the real high performance. And by the end of the day, I will not be putting it on the store for free. In that case, I can think of native because I will be investing a lot of money in having that native application. On the other hand, if this is not the case, I'm not selling my application. I'm just building an application that actually gathering users or showing my service. In that case, I can go for cross-platform. And this is, in nowadays, it considered the middle solution. So that's why it's, by default, we can say it's becoming the default solution in most of cases. Cross-platform. Why that? Because I'm having the advantage of native and the advantage of hybrid. On the other hand, if we are going for hybrid, when should we use hybrid? Actually, I say that we can use hybrid or consider hybrid in mainly two cases. The first one, if I have an application that actually I for temporary purpose. I'm not building an application in order to keep it forever. This is not my final version. I'm building an application as temp app in order to reach time to market. For example, I have an idea and this idea has a lot of competitors in the market and I need really to be the first one to go to the market. I can build my application as hybrid app, and in the same time, in parallel, I have another team which is developing the app as cross-platform or native. So this might be the first one. The second one, if I am building my app for my own, this means me as person, or I'm building that for my employees in my company, or I'm building this for my friends, for example. And this is actually one of the cases. At some point of time, I was building an application for me and my friends that actually similar to the WhatsApp groups when we are trying to agree on an outing. and someone is busy on Tuesday and someone is free on Thursday morning, someone needs to go to the cinema, the other one needs to go to the club. So handling this on WhatsApp group, actually it's a disaster. So we have been building an application that everyone go submit his free slots, what he needs, and the application actually matches everything. So in that case, I don't have real audience. I'm not selling the application, not going to the market. I just need a functional application with the minimum effort and the fastest development time, or the quickest development time. In that case, I'm going for hybrid. So we can say that if we are targeting commercial use, it might be either native or cross-platform. If we need to have very professional and top level, and in most of cases paid app, we go to native. Otherwise, we go to cross-platform. And by the way, a lot of apps, a lot of popular apps out there by Google and Facebook actually are developed using cross-platform. They are promoting that. Definitely Google is developing their apps using Flutter, and Facebook is developing using React Native, definitely. But we have a lot of applications that actually are targeting cross-platform so far.
Ahmed, we have one more question from Mr. Yasser, and he is asking that which platform is more secure, and keeping in mind the security of the application, for example, applications for banking and other financial institutions, what would be the best platform to make it more secure?
Okay, so when it comes to security, all platforms actually is providing the developer or the development team with security aspects. So I can obtain the same level of the platform that I'm using. But the point is, when I'm developing my app, I should keep security in mind, because none of these platforms will enforce me for a specific level of security. Okay, so if we are checking which of them supports me to be secure when I'm trying to implement security measures, all of them, but none of them is enforcing me, or let's say will be securing the application on my behalf. So building in the security as main aspect while I'm designing the application in the first place, it's very important to be done in all different categories of mobile application development. But if we are trying to add another note, we can say that the native application will be easier to build the security aspects on it. Why is that? Because in that case, I can use the native features. For instance, if I'm using iOS, I can use the keychain, where I can store the passwords in a secure way using the built-in native feature. If I go to cross-platform or hybrid, I have to download external library in order to do that. In both cases, I will be reaching the same result under the condition that I know what I am doing and I'm building the security inside the application. Okay.
Yeah.
One more note about that. When we are building a mobile application, thank you. When we are building a mobile application, we should consider that the mobile application is only part of the story, because that mobile application is usually interacting with the back end, which is the server. And if we are saying that there is a security concern, the security measures should be applied on the server by 80% and 20% on the mobile. So securing the mobile app without securing the server actually is a disaster. So I should be keeping in mind, while I'm building a mobile application, it's not only a mobile application. I should implement security measures on the mobile, and I should implement security measures on the back end as well.
Okay. One of the participants, Mr. Umar, he raised a hand. I think he wants to ask a quick question.
Yes. Yes, please.
Hello. Hi, Ahmed. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Mr. Umar.
Ahmed, I'm sorry I joined in late. I don't know if my question is relevant or not. I just want to ask that what's the best programming language for for Android development? Is it Java, Basic, or C or C++? What do you recommend? Thank you.
Okay. Okay. For Android, your question is for Android. What should I develop, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So for Android, as we are dealing with native, if we are considering native, we have 3 native mobile application or 3 native programming languages that we can choose between in order to develop Android application. Either Java, Kotlin, or C++. Java and Kotlin are actually related to each other, and we will be comparing between them just in a minute. But if we are comparing one of these, Java or Kotlin, versus C++, we are actually comparing 2 different things. Why that? By the end of the day, the code that we are developing or we are writing for the Android application, actually it's converted to the machine language, zeros and ones, what actually the machine understands. So the Java is converted through the virtual machine, which is Java, to something like C++, and then it actually executed on the hardware. So if I develop my application using C++ directly, it means that my application will be executed on the hardware directly, so it will give my application higher performance. So developing the Android application using C++, it's even giving me more performance than Java or Kotlin. But on the other hand, executing or developing the application using C++, actually it gives me very limited access to the libraries or the functionalities that's provided by the Java framework. So Java framework enables me or gives me a lot of functions that actually I can use directly, and these functions saves me, for example, if we are comparing 2 different models, let's say that in order to capture an image, if I develop the code for capturing an image in Java, it will cost me, let's say, for instance, 2 lines of code. But if I am developing the same function using C++, I need to write 10 lines of code. But those 10 lines of code will be executed in a shorter time than that 2 lines of code, because these 2 lines of code actually will be converted to 20 lines of code. But as a developer, I wrote 2 instead of writing 10. So it's easier for me as a developer. If we are comparing how much I gained as performance between C++ and Java, in most of cases, as we have been discussing the performance, you will find that the difference will be 0.00001. So it's not that measurable for user in most of cases. In the only case that will make me go to C++ and invest in that larger code in order to write a lot of code, if we are building a really complex algorithm that actually will take in the Java, let's say 3 minutes to run, so, or for C++, it will take only 1 minute. In that case, it's comparable. The user will sense the difference. But if this is not the case, if I'm not building something that's very special, that will take a lot of time, in that case, 100% I will go with Java or Kotlin. So how to select between Java and Kotlin? It's recommended now by Google to go for Kotlin, because Kotlin actually, it has all the privilege of Java, plus that everything in Java. Actually, it's easier to develop. It has a lot of shortcuts where you decrease the amount of code that you are writing for the same thing. We can say that Kotlin is the smarter version of Java, the same that happened with iOS when they had a legacy programming language, which is Objective-C, and then they build another programming language, which is Swift, and they encourage the developers to go for Swift. Recommending between these 3 languages. If you know Java before, you can continue with Java in order until you get familiar with the development environment, and then you go to Kotlin. If you are not aware with any one of them, just start with Kotlin, because actually you will be learning anyway. So you start with Kotlin and continue with that. If that answers okay? Someone is raising his hand again, or that the same question?
Oh, it's the same. Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Okay, so that's good. So do we have any other question? Anything that we need to consider?
Not now. I think we'll take the question at the end of the webinar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's have a quick view about the development environment, what we need to install in order to get started with Android development. And as we have been discussing, we are focusing on the native development techniques. So the first thing that we need to install is Android Studio. Can you see my screen?
No, we cannot.
Yeah, I know I didn't share it yet, but I'm just asking. Okay. Okay. Okay, now you can, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so in order to get started with your Android development environment, you need to download only one tool, which is Android Studio. Actually, you need a lot of tools in order to get started, but the good thing is that Google is providing us with this tool that actually you will install, and that tool will have the responsibility of installing everything else. So you start by downloading Android Studio. That Android Studio is the application where you develop your app, where you write the code and run your code from within this app and do whatever you want. So this is the Android Studio. Android Studio actually is one of the very strong development environments out there. It's the official one provided by Google. It's based on another IDE. It's called IntelliJ. You will find there is a huge similarities between them. So you will go to download the Android Studio. So it will start downloading. So after downloading the Android Studio and going with a very smooth installation process like next, you don't have to do anything. Just one thing to keep in mind, that it will by default install, if you are using Windows, it will be installed on C drive. So, and actually Android Studio, it requires a lot of space, like at least 2 or 3 gigabytes to be free. And if you don't want to do this to your C drive, so feel free to move it to another drive, just to change the path of installation. After you're done with that, you will be able to start your Android Studio, and it should look like this. Here is my Android Studio. This is your Android, sorry for that. Okay, so this is what you will see when you see the Android Studio for the first time. So you will start by creating a new project. It requires a template, and as you can see, there is an interesting thing to keep in mind, that when you are using Android Studio and Android development tools, actually you are not targeting only mobile phones and tablets. You are targeting as well Wear OS. What is Wear OS? It's the operating system on the smartwatches. So the Android smartwatches, it has another operating system where you can build an application for that. You can build a watch face, some images and something like that. Google Map activity, blank activity. You also can build an application for Android TV. All smart TVs that has Android operating system, you can build an app for that. Automotive, you know, the dashboard that actually in most of cars has Android operating system, so you can actually do this. And the final thing are, which is IoT. If you think of IoT, all the smart devices, smart air conditioner, smart fridge, smart washing machine, all these smart devices, most of them has Android operating system installed. So the same tool and the same technology, the same programming language you can use for building applications for all these tools. We'll be using this, and let's select, for example, navigation drawer activity, and then you name your application, my first app, and here you go. So a couple of things you need to
Ahmed, we lost you.
Case for develop.
Ahmed, we lost you.
What about now?
Yeah, it's fine now. It's fine now. We lost you again.
Or updating are doing that? Okay, just give.
Yeah. Now it's fine. Perfectly fine.
Okay, cool. It's because of Android Studio. Once it start downloading some plugins and updating some issues, it drains the bandwidth. Okay, so two things to keep in mind before dealing with the Android Studio, which are AVD and SDK. SDK, from that top, we have something called SDK Manager. What is this SDK? Actually, it's a tool where you install specific versions of the Android inside your Android Studio. Because, for instance, we don't have a single version of the OS. Android, we don't have a single version of Android. We have multiple versions, and these multiple versions has variance between each other. So when you are developing for a specific version, you should find between these.
Ahmed, we lost you again. So you were talking about the versions.
You lost me again?
Yes, now it's fine.
Yeah, okay. So this is what you can see when you go to the SDK Manager. And as you can see, these are the different versions of Android. So at the beginning, you need to download 2 or 3 versions, and it's recommended to download some of the versions that actually are common in the market. And there is always a trade-off. Should I download the latest version in order to be able to use all the new features within my app, or I should go to an old version? There is cons and the pros. If you are going to the latest version, you will be able to use within your app all the new features supported by this operating system. But on the other hand, if you choose a very recent version, you will lose a huge portion of the customers, which they don't have that new mobile phones that has this version. Let's say that I will be going for Android 3.2. I will select 3.2 and download this version. In that case, your application will have only the basic feature. It will be supported on all the mobile devices, definitely, but it will have only the basic features, which is not good. So what we usually do is we go in between. So in that case, while we are dealing with our market, we can say that Android 7 or Android 8 actually has both of these, or stand in the middle, so both of them should be good. So through the SDK Manager, you select what versions of the Android operating system you need to deal with. So you select these and then click OK. After you click OK, it will consider what you have checked and what you have unchecked. So if there was something installed and you have unchecked it, it will uninstall it. If something was not checked and you checked it, it will download it and install it. And keep in mind that each of these versions, actually, they are in terms of gigabytes. So if you select all of them, you will be downloading something like 20 or 25 gigabytes. So if you are fine with that, go ahead and download everything. If you are not, just select what you need. So this is the first thing, which is SDK. The other thing, very quickly, I know that we are running out of time. We ran out of time, actually. The second thing, which is AVD. AVD stands for Android Virtual Device, where you create your simulators. So you start, for example, by creating a new device. You select the design of this device, because when I'm building an application, I need to see how my application would behave on a tablet, 10-inch tablet, and 7-inch mobile phone, and 3-inch mobile phone. So I select, it doesn't make sense to purchase all these mobile phones from the market. So I can create my own virtual device. That virtual device, I will be selecting, for example, that I need Nexus 1, which is 3.5, or Nexus 5, or 8 foldable, which is looks like the new Galaxy phone. So I'm selecting that, and then I select which version of the operating system I need to install on that AVD, and this gave us back an idea back to the SDK. I can only here use the version that I actually downloaded. So if I need to support this device by another version, I should go to the SDK manager, download it and install it, and then use it here. So I will be selecting one of these, and then I will continue until I get a device. After I get that device and I click on run, I will find, or I can see it, as you can see here, it's a complete Android device where you can see your apps and you can start testing them. So this is one of the examples. This is a first app. Our app that we started, which is Navigation Drawer, should by the end of the day look something like that. This is actually the generated version. This is what you can see. Actually, we didn't do anything from that. All this is auto-generated, and I can install, or I can add my logic and views to this application. How about that? Make sense?
Yeah, we have a quick question from
Yeah,
David.
sure.
Is
Definitely.
Android Studio free to download and
Yes.
use?
Yeah, and this is one of the good things about starting with with Android rather than iOS. Android, actually, you can download it on any platform. It supports Windows, Linux, Mac, so you can install it at anything. It's free. You can download it and install it. But once you go for the upload, how to upload, or the point where you upload your application to the store, you need a paid developer account. This paid developer account is 30 USD. You pay it only once, so actually it's fine. On the other hand, for Apple, their development tools is free as well, but it supports only Mac, so you should have a Mac device, and you should have a membership, which is 99 USD per year. So for Google, it's $30 you pay it once. For Apple, it's 99 per year. You renew it every year. Subscription.
We have a someone raised hand. Let me. Yeah.
Hi, Ahmed. It's me back again. All right, Ahmed. When we're selecting the virtual device, all right. Let's say in this case you selected the Galaxy Fold, right?
Yeah.
The resolution and the screen size would be different. So let's say if I developed an app using this emulator, right, a Galaxy Fold, and some of my users are having a smaller phone. So is the app going to be optimizing by itself, or do I have to write some kind of codes for that?
Okay. Actually, it optimized on its own as long as the Android OS can do that. So it depends on how I am building the UI. So when I'm building the UI, I have a couple of ways, if we can say, a couple of ways of sorting the components. So the first one, for example, I'm saying that I'm telling the operating system to put this button in the middle of the screen. In that case, regardless the size of the device, it will be in the middle. On the other hand, I have some other ways of writing the code or designing the UI where I tell the device, or I tell the operating system, I need to have this device or this button from the top 100 pixel. So if the design was changed, it will keep the distance between the top 100 distance. So if I have large mobile phone, I will find the button something like here. And if I have a small mobile phone, I will find it in the end. So that's why if I am trying to support multiple design, I need to design my UI in a dynamic and relative way, rather than just putting fixed distances between my components and the edges of the screen. That's good.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you,
Thank you.
Ahmed. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Do we have anyone who wants to ask any question? Because we are running out of time. We have one more question, and Mr. Talha is saying that what is your favorite when it comes to developing Android applications? What is your favorite? Is it React? Is it cross function, or is it hybrid?
Platform.
So which one? Yeah, platform.
Okay.
Which one is your favorite?
Okay. If I am building an application that's required to run only on Android, so I will go for native development with Kotlin. If the application will be targeting only Android devices, I will go for this. If the application is targeting both iOS and Android, in that case, I will go for React Native or Flutter based on the size of the app. If the app is small, I will go with React Native. It's large, I will go with Flutter.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you
Great.
so much, Ahmed. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for all the participants who joined us for this session. Whoever joined us late can access this webinar on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like our LinkedIn page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we do this webinar series twice a month. And we'll be having more interesting topics for you guys that are trendy in the market. And we look forward to welcome you in future events. Yeah, thank you. Thank you once again. Yeah. Cheers.
And
Bye.
let us know if you need to have a specific topic, you can just drop us a message, right?
Yes, yes. And the contact email would be uae@nobleprog.ae. Thank you so much, Ahmed, for reminding that. And
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
looking forward to having more sessions with you. Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.